What's up, guys? Hayden Schaap here. I'm back with my 7 Habits study, the dissection of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Really, this is a live study of me relearning the 7 Habits. I've read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, like I've said in the past, probably 30 times. And this is me going through some of the concepts that have been most meaningful and impactful to me. We study this as part of our leadership development program at Moxie, and as a sales leader, want to lead by example. But as I was going through this myself, I was already spending time doing this each day anyway. I realized, if I really wanted to follow Stephen Covey's advice of studying with the intent to teach, what I would probably do is just make my study itself public, even though it's unpolished and unrefined, so that my sales reps could follow along if they wanted to and learn along with me, and gain some of the insights from my past study and how this applies to me and their life or my life. But so they'd see me doing that, which would be, I think, cool. But then also, I think this would be the real way for me to ingrain this stuff within me, because this book, the concepts of this book, living a principle-centered life, has been the very thing that has been most impactful to me. If you guys like following along with this study or any of this stuff I'm talking about on my channel publicly about truth-centered persuasion and influence, all the fun sales principles that I'll get into a lot later, truth-centered personal development and character development, truth-centered leadership, follow me on YouTube, comment the things that you're learning, like this video, please, so that it can get to more people, so that the algorithm can favor me, and follow on any of the channels that you consume content the most. I'm also on TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all that fun stuff. Okay, let's get right into this. Last time we were talking about personal mission statements and how developing a personal constitution for yourself is the very thing that will help you and guide you in all the different types of situations that you can encounter. One of the things Covey says is that we're in an environment that's ever changing, and it's changing so rapidly. And I heard him talk about this when he was doing a consulting seminar for a business. The business environment is changing so rapidly in the information age. I think this is even more true today than it was when he gave this in the late 90s, early 2000s. We are in an economic environment that is so ever changing and so ever internationalizing, integrating of markets, that we can't afford not to have a culture in our organizations or in a leadership style within ourselves that aligns us with true principles. We can't afford not to do it. Why? Because when you use a compass to guide your life rather than a map, it doesn't matter where you are. You can still find your way, right? Like a seaman who is in ferrying the ocean. When you use the stars as your guiding light rather than a map, it doesn't matter where you are. You don't need to know where you are in order to know how to get where you need to go, or at least in order to navigate all the different aspects of where you could be. It's important to recognize where you are so that you can then more effectively navigate. But this is why Covey says guiding star true principles and grounding your life in guiding star true principles is the equivalent of focusing on using a compass rather than a map. A map will not always get you to the same place again if you're in a different starting point. Principles or programs that worked for people in the past are not the same programs that will work in the future. But programs newly built on ever guiding principles that are unchanging, that is where it becomes important to have a written constitution of values for yourself stemming from true principles that are your guiding star. I talked a little bit about my own personal mission statement, gave a couple insights there, although only scratching the surface really, to not give away the things that are most really dear and sacred to me. Although I don't mind sharing them, there's some more profound stuff that I didn't quite share. But I want to talk a little bit more about what Covey says about a personal mission statement, because I didn't get into that quite as much as I wanted to last time. So, he gives a couple examples of mission statements from people here, but then there's a couple things that he says that hit me pretty hard, or have in the past as I've studied this. I haven't studied this part except for audibly for a few months, so this will be cool to read it with you. I will. Let's see. Our personal environment is also changing at an ever-increasing pace. So this is reiterating exactly what I just said. I didn't realize we were going to be reading this. With a mission statement, we can flow with changes. Sorry. Let's back up even one more paragraph, which is what I literally was just saying, because I was just studying a seminar that Covey did on this stuff for businesses. A personal mission statement based on correct principles becomes the same kind of standard for an individual. It becomes a personal constitution, the basis for making major life-directing decisions, the basis for making daily decisions in the midst of the circumstances and emotions that affect our lives. It empowers individuals with same timeless strength in the midst of change. People can't live with change if there's not a changeless core inside of them. Oh, that's so fascinating. So when I was listening to this last seminar, as I was going through it, one of the things Covey said was, organizations that are not based or have a culture that revolves around true principles and meets the basic human needs of the individuals that are inside of that culture will always struggle with change and push back and resist against it. And he said, when you base your culture off of true North Star guiding principles that are themselves changeless, so when your organization is based off of changeless principles, he's like, the people within that organization actually thrive with change. It's a complete break against current paradigms and the way people view things. Like, they don't like change. But when you can base your organization off of true principles, and backing up even further to apply this to individuals, when you can base your own personal life on true principles and have them as your guiding star, unchanging principles, you will thrive with change. You'll welcome it, you'll accept it, and you'll have the wherewithal, the integrity of self, and the strength of self, the vulnerability to be able to change because your life is based off of true principles and not off of something changing. Kind of interesting thought there. People can't live with change if there's not a changeless core inside them. The key to the ability to change is a changeless sense of who you are, what you are about, and what you value. With a mission statement, we can flow with changes. We don't need prejudgments or prejudices. We don't need to figure out everything else in life, to stereotype and categorize everything and everybody in order to accommodate reality. Our personal environment is also changing at an ever-increasing pace. So just as true for organizations that things are changing rapidly, it's also maybe even more true for individuals. Such rapid change burns out a large number of people who feel they can't handle it, can hardly cope with life. They become reactive and essentially give up, hoping that things that happen to them will be good. Oh man, how many people do you know that are like that? If not yourself. I know I definitely tend to swing that way. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Nazi death camps where Viktor Frankl learned the principle of proactivity, he also learned the importance of purpose, of meaning in life. The essence of logotherapy, the philosophy he later developed and taught, is that many so-called mental and emotional illnesses are really symptoms of an underlying sense of meaningness or emptiness. I've always actually felt this way, and I feel like I've never really verbalized it too much, and I won't here, but I've always actually felt, and I think I can speak from some ground of my own experience here, although that's all I can speak for is my own experience, that mental illness, and for me, depression, or have clinical levels of anxiety, or have had in the past, and have MDD, or have had in the past, and I've always actually felt that where that has most affected me has been in the times when I have not been attuned to a sense of meaningfulness and fulfillment. So that would make sense that this theory of logotherapy is basically the idea that the symptoms of any underlying emotional or mental illness stem from an underlying sense of meaningless and emptiness. Logotherapy eliminates the emptiness by helping the individual to detect the unique meaning, his mission in life. Once you have that sense of mission, you have the essence of your own proactivity. You have the vision and the values which will direct your life. You have the basic direction from which you set your long and short-term goals. That's why, I've been focusing my last few episodes on I've been building out some freaking audacious goals that people would be thrilled if they were able to even think about achieving them. That's how I feel about them. They're that crazy. But what's been so meaningful and powerful for me is to try to align and make sure that those goals are not only stemming from but aligned with not only aligned, I meant it the opposite way, to make sure that my audacious goals are not only aligned with, so I'm not just forcing them to be aligned with my mission, but that they are truly stemming from my mission, my changeless core, and my unchanging identity. So I want to get a little bit more into that in a second. Once you have that sense of your mission, Covey says, you have the essence of your own proactivity. You have the vision and the values which direct your life. You have the basic direction from which you can set your long-term and short-term goals. You have the power of a written constitution based on correct principles, against which every decision concerning the most effective use of your time, your talents, and your energies can be effectively measured. So good. In order to write a personal mission statement, we must begin with the very center of our circle of influence, that center composed of our most basic paradigms, the lens through which we see the world. It is here that we deal with our vision and our values. It is here that we use the essence of our endowment of self-awareness to examine our maps, and, if we value correct principles, to make certain that our maps accurately describe the territory, that our paradigms are based on principles and reality. It is here that we use our endowment of conscience as a compass to help direct us in our own unique talents and areas of contribution. It is here that we use our endowment of imagination to mentally create the end we desire, giving the direction and purpose to our beginnings and providing substance to a written personal constitution. It is also here that our focused efforts achieve the greatest results. This is where, whenever I start talking about this with people and I see their eyes glaze over and they're basically just saying, like, Hayden, just tell me how to make $1 million. Or Hayden, just tell me how I can make sure that I have like a really good sex life with my wife. Or just, hey, just tell me how I can like make sure that, I'm getting the grades in school and then I can just get out as quickly as possible and make as much money as possible. That is where I'm like, okay, listen, if you're bored, like when I see their eyes glaze over as I start talking about mission statement and stuff like that, your unique identity and purpose, the first thing I think of is like, I need to get more convincing and persuasive about this because it's so impactful. But the second thing is like, it's a shame to miss this stuff because the thing you say you want, like that fulfillment in your marriage or the pleasure in your life or the big money, like the thing that you say you want actually increases massively when you do it this way. It's also here, and this is why Covey's saying this, it's also here that our focused efforts achieve the greatest results. It's also here at our core center that our focused efforts achieve the greatest results. As we work within that center of our circle of influence, we expand it. This is the highest level PC work, the highest level production capability work, significantly impacting the effectiveness of every aspect of our lives. Whatever it is at the center of our life will be the source of our security, our guidance, our wisdom, and our power. And a little secret here is we always have something at the center of our lives. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's something good or worthy. Security represents your sense of worth, your identity, your emotional anchorage, your self-esteem, your basic personal strength or lack of it. Guidance means your source of direction in life, encompassed by your map, your internal frame of reference that interprets for you what is happening out there, our standards or principles or implicit criteria that govern moment-by-moment decision-making and doing. Wisdom is your perspective on life, your sense of balance, your understanding, how the various parts of the principles apply and relate to each other, and it embraces judgment, discernment, and comprehension. It's a gestalt or oneness, an integrated wholeness. Power is the faculty or capacity to act, the strength, the potency to accomplish something. It's the vital energy to make choices and decisions. It also includes the capacity to overcome deeply embedded habits and to cultivate higher, more effective ones. So like whenever I get this question too of like, hey, how do I stay motivated? Or hey, Hayden, how do you stay motivated? Like, I just don't think I could work this way. And my response always to that is like, when you have a deep burning reason within you, you have the power to do whatever you want. And we're all capable of tapping into that power. I'm actually going to save this wisdom, security, guidance, the security, guidance, wisdom, and strength for the next episode because I have one thing I want to talk about before I close here. So it's this. I was recently, like I said, in the process of setting some pretty freaking audacious goals relative to not only my peers, because we're already way beyond audacity relative to my peers, but some pretty audacious goals relative to what I thought I could currently do. So if you were looking as an outsider, and you'd be like, dude, that is insane. And I'm in the habit nowadays of never setting a goal for myself unless when I set it, I don't believe that I can do it yet, but I want it. So setting these goals, right? I now believe I can achieve all of these, and I'm going to, because we're deep into this process of the entrainment of my mind toward the achievement of the goals. But anyway, as I'm setting the goals, right, I'm sitting down and I always do what's called a statement of definite purpose. I've done this at least for the last 5 years in some rough version of it, but in how I refer to it as a statement of definite purpose, which is a very specific way to set short-term goals. I've done it for the last 2.5 years. So I'm on like my third round of it, and the last 2 times I've done it, and the rough draft previous to that, so the last 3 I've like hit my goals and I far exceeded them because of this process, and I'm convinced that it's the case. So I'm setting this goal, and I keep thinking to myself like, man, because in this goal setting process, you always start with a very specific time-based and in present tense the goal that you want. So like you might say, I'm so happy and grateful that by September 15th, 2022, I have made $1 million in 2022, for example. Let's just say that was your goal. And that's typically how I would start it. And then I would tie back in my meaning and purpose throughout the document that I'm calling my statement of definite purpose, which encompasses everything you would need that if you read it every day, you would be absolutely convinced and 100% you would achieve your goal. So as I'm writing this out, I have this epiphany because I'm also studying 7 Habits, and I had just gone through some of this training on the first creation. And it just dawned on me that, like, why don't I start this document that's outlining how, like, the depth and outlining specifics of the goal that I'm going to achieve in 2022 that is in line with my mission? Why don't I actually start this document by stating what my unique identity is and my unique mission? I was like, I wonder if I did that, because I already built the goal stemming out of what I feel like my long-term mission is and what I feel like my unique talents and contribution are as a human being and my core unchanging identity. And I was like, but I've never actually written it out in context of a short-term goal. And so I was like, man, that's powerful. I think I'm going to do that. So I start writing this out, and I start thinking to myself, like, so if I could state that at the beginning of every time I repeat this back to myself, this statement of definite purpose. You can study more into this in Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the next books that I'll do. If I could state this out every time, it would so powerfully impact my mind and how I'm viewing the goal and remind me why I set it in the first place, that it would give me the security, guidance, wisdom, and power to go achieve it at all costs. And I thought to myself, like, why would that be the case? Why would making goals that revolve around your identity as a human being or your unique identity and unchanging core, why would making goals revolving around that and revolving around your unique mission and talents and contribution in life, why would that be such a powerful thing? Why did I feel like that would be a game changer? And this was the feeling that I had, was that when the audacious short-term goals that you have for yourself stem out of an unchanging core, come what may, you will always have the security, the strength, the wisdom, and the power, the guidance and the power to go achieve that goal. When I know that the achievement of my short-term goals helps me and puts me more in line with my unchangingness about me, I'm far less likely to cave to the waves and the whims and the winds of circumstance or the problems that come up along the way. But when I'm not based off of that core unchanging truth, then anything that happens that's strong enough, if it's stronger than my current will, it's going to dissuade me from achieving the goal. So as I've been thinking about this, I've been helping a lot of my salesmen set their goals with that in mind and saying basically, like, listen, there's something about you that I can't take away from you. I could take away your title as a salesman at our company. I could even take away your title as a husband. You want to know how? Like I could go stage This is so bad. I could go stage the murder of your wife and take away your title as a husband. I could take away your title as a dog parent by doing the same thing. That's morbid, right? I can take away your title as even a citizen of a community. I could take away that title. But you know what I can't take away from you is something that's changeless within you, and what I believe is divine. I cannot take away from you the fact that you are a son or a daughter of divinity, of God. And you could argue that all you want, but I don't think that that's something that can change ever. I can't take away from you the fact that you have unique human endowments that are deep within you that make it possible for you to be proactive and to create the life that you want. I cannot take away from the fact that you have unique skills and talents that are unique only to you, that I can't even have because I'm not you. I can't take away any of those things. And so if you can base your goals on the fact that, like, because I am, for me, for example, mine is because I am a son of God. This is the general version of what mine says. Because I'm a son of God who has a unique mission on this earth to persuade and influence his children to follow him, or to learn by word and by example how to base their life off of truth so that they come closer to him. Because that is my unique unchanging identity and my unique unchanging purpose, now I'm going to state the goal. And then I'll say, I am so relieved, fulfilled. I feel a sense of momentary bliss at the fact that by September 2022, I have blank, and then I state the goal. And that goal still might be, I have made, as an example, I have made $1 million. But why would that now make sense if it meant that I was actually fulfilling my purpose? Why would I not be deterred from going and achieving my goal? And how would it give me context and meaning to my experience in achieving it? Well, because I set that goal based off of the fact that because of my unique human endowment, who I am as a person, my unique strengths and talents, and my mission that I feel like I'm here on this earth to fulfill, because of that, the achievement of my goal helps me get to that. So now, making that $1 million means that I get to influence more people, means that I get to pay off my parents' debts, means that I get to all of the other things that now might fall in line with your unique identity, means that I can hire a team to help me broadcast my thoughts, means that I can all X, Y, and Z, right? So my purpose with bringing this up is, like, I think it is ever more important that not only we create mission statements that embody who we want to become and who we already are at our changeless core. People all the time, so Ed Milet talks about this a lot, and I only partially agree with him actually on this part. Ed Milet talks about when you behave in a certain way, you change your identity, right? And that changing identity actually gives you the strength to go achieve. I'm being rough about the way he describes this because it's a little more nuanced than that, but for the sake of time, he says, if you go behave in a different way, you start to trust yourself, you change your identity. And that changing identity helps you to go now achieve something new because you're a new identity. My theory is actually that we don't change our identity to something new. In fact, what we do is when we experience voluntary rebirth, as Napoleon Hill says, what we're really doing is more closely aligning ourselves to who we already are at our core. And when you can start to view everything through that, your short-term and your long-term goals, your roles, your contribution, the legacy that you want to leave, everything changes. Everything becomes more meaningful. You have way more power and capacity to go achieve even higher goals than what you thought, and the strength to do so when there certainly are changing and challenging times along the way. Because no goal is worth achieving unless it has those things, I don't think. Anyway, I hope you guys liked my insights here, because this is something that's been on my mind a lot, and it's kind of culminated here. I have one more thing that I want to say, so that just came to my mind while I was doing this. A good way to identify where you currently are in relation to how you're living your life based on your mission is, one, go through and do this process of, like, building out a mission statement for yourself. But I also had this thought of, like, if someone looked as an outsider into my life right now, like, let's just say there was a passive observer, or let's say, like, one of my children who is yet to be born is like a spirit in heaven, and he's looking down, or she is looking down on my life, and she had no other context. She didn't know the things that I talked about. She just watched and observed my life, and she couldn't hear anything, right? She could only hear through my actions. What would she say is my unique mission, is my mission and identity and my mission statement what would she say would be the governing principles of my life? If she had to just write them out plainly speaking and say, like, based off of Hayden's actions, this is what I think his mission, his constitution is. Every time there's the chance to take short-term pleasure, he always takes short-term pleasure over long-term gratification. Anytime there's a chance to spend money on something that is meaningless, he spends money on something that's meaningless. That's a guiding principle of Hayden's. It's just common throughout everything that he does. Instead of waiting to buy something in cash, if he has the chance to buy it with debt, he buys it with debt. Or like whatever, right? So like I'm just imagining like maybe a good way actually to identify what your current guiding principles are and to see if they're sound, if they pass the stress test of being true principles, is to say if there was someone observing from the outside that needed to document what my guiding principles are and how I make decisions just off observing, what would they write down? What would they say are my current guiding principles? And then from there, you can pull back and say, okay, I don't have to be like that. Acknowledge the truth, own it, and then be like, okay, now I'm going to decide what my guiding principles are, and then I'm going to use that as a constitution through which I'm going to build the blueprint of my life and through which the context through which every action and decision is made. So anyway, I'm going to get back a little bit to this at the center topic here with the first creation because it's so powerful, and I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. If you are or watching, make sure you leave a comment on the things that are most standing out to you and share with someone that could use this. Do good for somebody over this like kind of holiday season and as we go into the new year, because I think this is perfect to apply for setting and achieving goals in the new year, but mostly for our life, and you can't afford not to do it. Saying you can't afford to do it is like saying you don't have time to go get gas and you're on empty, or charge your car and you're on empty like me. Anyway, thanks for following. Make sure you follow on any of the other channels, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.